Welcome to the Rare Books Department of the J. Willard Marriott Library, the University of Utah. The Rare Books Department is one of 4 departments within the Special Collections Division. Other departments include manuscripts, multimedia archives, and print and journal. Special Collections materials are held on the 4th floor of the Marriott Library and can be accessed by request in the Special Collections Reading and Reference Room. The Rare Books Department holds more than 80,000 items, including books, maps, ephemera, and realia documenting the record of human communication, from Sumerian clay tablets to 21st century artist books. By actively collecting and digitizing material of historical and aesthetic importance, the Rare Books Department preserves a heritage of thought, artistic endeavor, and innovation that inspires the human spirit today. We provide reference, research, and educational access to local, regional, and international communities, strengthening the ability of faculty to teach, students to learn, and communities to find common denominators. The philosophy behind the Rare Books Department has long emphasized the importance of the book as a physical object. Some of the most meaningful interactions with our collections occur in the classroom, where students are able to hold history in their hands. If this is your first introduction into the world of artist books, you may find yourself at times stumbling over definitions. What is an artist book exactly, and how do we recognize it from any other book? But even the definition of a book comes into question. A book is something so familiar that we often don't think of it as an object that requires a definition. We all know what a book is, right? Or do we? Perhaps just as abstract is the concept of art. Not all agree on what art is and what art isn't. And if you were to bring your definitions of book and art together, what would that look like? For a definition of artist books, I defer to Ulysses Carrion. Carrion was a Mexican artist who was widely known for his decisive role in defining and conceptualizing the artistic genre of artist books through his manifesto, The New Art of Making Books, first printed in 1975. But as Carrion was a member of the avant-garde, his definition of the term is abstract, obscure, and perhaps a bit eclectic. For Carrion, a book is a sequence of space. Each of these spaces is perceived at a different moment. A book is also a sequence of moments. A book is not a case of words, nor a bag of words, nor a bearer of words. A book is a space-time sequence. In the old art, the writer writes texts. In the new art, the writer makes books. To make a book is to actualize its ideal space-time sequence by means of the creation of a parallel sequence of signs, be it linguistic or other. To paraphrase Carrion, when one reads an artist book, one has to consider all of its components. And one of the most important components of the artist book is its structure. In The New Art of Making Books, Carrion continues. Every word exists as an element of structure, a phrase, a novel, a telegram, or every word is a part of a text. Nobody or nothing exists in isolation. Everything is an element of a structure. Every structure is in its turn an element of another structure. Everything that exists is a structure. In a book of the old art, words transmit the author's intention. In a book of the new art, words don't transmit any intention. They're used to form a text which is an element of a book. And it is this book, as a totality, that transmits the author's intention. So let's give that a shot. To start, it will be helpful to have a dictionary of terms that allows us to talk about the artist book, its structure, and other components related to the production. For this lecture, I'll be referring to the book terms found on the website Opening Artist Books, a collaborative project established by the Marriott Library's Book Arts program. Using these terms, we will focus specifically on physical qualities such as structure and form, but also discuss ideas related to content, text, and image. According to OAB, a codex is defined as a book made up of stacked leaves or folios bound at the spine edge. Historians use this term to refer to manuscripts produced from late antiquity through the Middle Ages, but book artists use this term to refer to the common book form. The Secret Astronomy of Tristram Shandy by Abra Ancliffe is an example of the simple codex form. It is unique in that this artist book reproduces over 100 self-reflexive black pages from multiple paper editions and copies of Lawrence Sterne's 18th century novel, The Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy, Gentleman. Since the 1760s, readers, printers, and publishers have been forced to grapple with the black pages of Sterne's novel. The struggle with discovery, meaning, and craft is all at the heart of this book. A constellation of writing, poetry, and research around the nodes of bodies, blackness, objects, space, and asterisks accompany the black page astronomies. When taken out of context and accumulated, these once playful visual metaphors reveal the printing inconsistencies of ink on paper, varying densities, hickeys, oxidation spots, and fingerprints. There is no text, therefore we can only read the structure and form of the book itself. The hidden nature of the page, that which is unread, can now be read. In this case, astronomical imagery is revealed, that of the stars speckled across in inky blackness, or the soft haze and ripple of a galaxy. In the new art of making books, a book artist might recycle and reuse old material, literally and figuratively. Like Abra Ancliffe's Secret Astronomy of Tristram Shandy, this next artist book appropriates a literary source and makes it new and unique. Jabberwocky is a nonsense poem written by Lewis Carroll about the killing of a creature named the Jabberwock. It was included in his 1871 novel Through the Looking Glass, the sequel to Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. The book tells of Alice's adventures within the back-to-front world of the Looking Glass land. Here, Barry McCallion reproduces Lewis Carroll's famous poem in a combination of artistic techniques. This interpretation of Jabberwocky adds to our reading experience by introducing ink, color, collage, gold, and aluminum foil. The depth of the content is textured with its use of paper and text, each letter cut out and collaged in a myriad of shapes and sizes. The abstract notion of nonsense is fully represented in the structure and design. Thus, our reading of the poem suddenly changes as the words are revealed in a new and foreign environment, despite remaining in the usual codex form. McCallion certainly likes to play with structure and form, as can be seen in this next example, titled Whitman CROSSHATCH, published the same year. Here, McCallion steals text from Walt Whitman's poem, As I Ebbed with the Ocean of Life. The poem was first published in the prestigious Atlantic Monthly in 1860, and later that year appeared as the opening poem of the Leaves of Grass section in the third edition of Leaves of Grass. Originally entitled Bardic Symbols, the poem muses about fathers, the shore, the failure of poetry, personal inadequacy, and profound uncertainty, revealing a darkness which contradicts Whitman's heroic self-creation of himself. As I Ebbed is a poem of a midlife crisis. This is Whitman's dejection ode, the place where he faces up to the fact that his poetry might not be doing what he wants it to be doing. The occasion of the poem is a walk along the beach, during which the narrator is seeking types and trying to create poetry. Suddenly, he is struck by massive doubt and sees his poetry as a manifestation of ego that approaches neither the universal nor his fundamental self. He sees the shore as a place of wrecks and corpses strewn on the sand and realizes that he himself will be no more than debris someday. According to McCallion, the book is both a hunt for and a despair of meaning. By setting the text on diagonals and verticals as odds page to page, the book captures the poet's bleak mode. In contrast, Whitman's own resolution takes the usual form of bright colors and a text that meanders in and out as the tide, but does not dissipate. Once more, the codex form is manipulated, appropriated, and interpreted to create a unique book and reading experience. The first three examples of the codex form feature text from novels and poems, but an artist's book doesn't necessarily need to be a literary book. In fact, it can take inspiration from just about anything, even items and pieces from your own home. Postcard, A Family History is Laura Waite's first artist book in multiple, and at that was only produced in an edition of 3 copies. In this artist book, Waite employs the technique of collage, defined by OAB as an artwork composed of paper, cloth, or other materials adhered to a flat surface, resulting in a two-dimensional or very low-relief work. The artwork might also be a combination of digital images and works that mirror or refers to the aesthetic of physical collages. Collage can also refer to a combination or a collection of various things. To create it, Waite used postcards collected over 3 generations sent to and from family members. The text is made up of Xerox prints of the postcards. The prints were then hand-colored with Prismacolor and watercolor on Mylar and Saunders Waterford HP paper. Each copy was hand-bound with Harmattan leather in a unique cover design decorated using acrylic paint, colored foil, and gold tooling. In many ways, this artist book resembles a family photo album. In addition to the imagery of the postcards, the binding evokes a sense of nostalgia. Thus, with very little text, the narrative that is being presented is dependent on the book structure. We must read the physical object in order to fully understand the content of what is inside. Like Waite's postcard photo album, this next book takes inspiration outside the confines of literary sources. Bianca Stone and Jenny Yoshida Park's collaborative work, The Color System, can be seen as a practice in deconstruction, using color to piece apart memories, events, people, and places. Framed is a book of color swatches one might find at a paint or interior design shop, where each color name evokes paradisiacal vacations or quaint Americana. California artist Jenny Yoshida Park satirizes aspects of modern American life, such as distraction, societal norms, and the fetishization of the exotic. 107 painted paste paper colors are labeled with names that evoke the vastness and variety of cultural and personal experience, both positive and negative, esoteric and common. Colorized vintage photographs offer a deadpan illustration of the category, once again creating a false nostalgia for times past, which may not have been as great as we would like to remember. Interrupting the pages is the rough draft of a poem, Because I Love You, I Can Come Apart, by Vermont poet Bianca Stone. Typed on hand-rolled scraps of translucent paper, the lines from the poem interject an intimate, personal voice into the sheen of corporatism. Wild and wandering, Stone's imagery flits from one facet of existence to another, bringing into focus the small and sometimes contradictory moments that add up to a lived life. Now that we've seen what we can do with the codex form, let's take a look at some other structures book artists use and manipulate. One of the most common structures I've seen is the accordion fold, defined by OAB as a series of alternating folds that creates 3 or more panels. Accordion bindings typically use a continuous piece of paper, either a single sheet or joined sheets, which are folded back and forth into equal increments resembling an accordion. There are many variations of the accordion fold that either simplify or complicate the method. In Teresa Pankhardt's book, 2 sheets fold out of a mahogany box. Pankhardt dedicates her book, The Wardrobe, to her mother, whose closets bulge with story. Designed to resemble a wardrobe of clothes, interlaced with illustrations and text, Pankhardt muses on the differences and similarities between her mother's wardrobe and her own, with each page highlighting an article of clothing that is intrinsically linked to a specific memory or event. The structure of the book requires the reader to flip through the wardrobe of clothes as one flips through pages. The 2 accordion folds can also extend out of the book to create a larger environment, a walk-in closet perhaps. This action creates an intimate reading experience as you enter into one of the most private spaces in someone's home. Additionally, with this book, we find the undeniable connection between textiles, female writing, and the shared experience of women. During the women's liberation movement of the 1960s and 1970s, second-wave feminists gained new interest in family textiles, collecting quilts and samplers, and trying to learn traditional textile arts. In searching for missing records and hidden histories, they saw in textiles a unique form of female writing that implicitly chronicled the lives and labors of their mothers and grandmothers before them. Opening a book is an invitation to enter into a new environment. Sometimes that space can be a woman's closet. Other times that space can be the inside of a tree. In Marie Dern and Danielle Diodici's book, Crow, the accordion fold is used to imitate tree rings. The inspiration came when Danielle sent Marie a photograph of a sign she had seen posted near her home. The text on the sign became the text for Crow. Once the text was decided upon, Marie and Danielle decided to make the book in the form of a tree trunk, as though the sign had been attached to it. From a hardware store, Marie and Danielle bought a piece of sonotube, a tube that's used for pouring concrete, and a piano hinge. They put these materials together so that the tube opened and closed like a book. This was an unintended but terrific reference to the Latin word codex, meaning tree trunk or block of wood, from which the word codex is derived. The two decided upon mulberry paper for the text block, knowing that it could curl, a reference to the rings of a tree. They curled the paper using a long-handled paintbrush. Danielle began to knit the trunk, covering with wool yarn, but the texture did not work well with the other materials. Another friend suggested Habu Textiles, a company in New York that sells paper yarn, and this material was just right. Danielle knitted and felted the bark. They lined the tube with black momi paper lined with thin white Japanese paper after they had cut a hole for the crow. The portrait of the crow was drawn by Danielle on vellum. They then added the bark sweater. The text is mounted on two accordions, which are attached to the sides of the piano hinge. The words in the text are not in the same sequence as they are on the sign. The intent was to lose the words, just as the crow was lost, and then find them inside the book. There are many variations of the accordion fold, such as carousel books, tunnel books, blind books, and flag books. According to the OAB, a flag book is a book in which an accordion-folded spine supports rows of leaves or flags. The leaves are attached to alternating sides of the peaks of the accordion so that when the book is opened, the flags crisscross each other in opposite directions. How Long is a perfect example of a flag book, bound in a concertina style, opening to reveal 21 card leaves in 3 horizontal rows. One side of each flag has text or monochromatic images produced using a Goku printer. The other side of each flag shows color Xeroxes of original artist-made log cabin quilt squares and U.S. postage stamps featuring American women. The covers were created using color photocopies similar to the internal pages, with actual Liberty fabric along the edges. Although Sandy James Washer likes to create things that are beautiful and bring pleasure, she is aware that most of the bookwork she makes might fall under the category of women's work: embroidery, quilting, beading, etc. This is quite intentional, as it shows there is merit and power in these techniques, especially when applied to the creation of artist books. The book format allows her to create pieces that are sculptural, but also contain strong visual images as well as written components. Photographs included in How Long came from the Library of Congress, the Oregon Historical Society, the Smithsonian, and Sophia Smith Collection at Smith College. The text for How Long was inspired by an article on women's suffrage by Mina Morse in the Smithsonian in 1993. Karen Hamner's artist-made books are physical manifestations of personal essays intertwining history, culture, politics, science, and technology. She utilizes both traditional and contemporary book structures, and the work is often playful in content or format. Hamner's Letter Home is another example of a flag book. One side of each flag has text, while the other side of each flag has a color image, which is part of a family photograph. The family photograph becomes whole when the accordion folds are stretched and the pages fall open. The text is from a letter written in Italy in 1954 by a military wife to her relatives. The upper and lower boards are covered in a reproduction of a photograph of an American woman, the artist's mother, on a balcony overlooking Florence, Italy. The flag book, like other dynamic book structures, has the unfortunate potential to overwhelm content and artistic intent, but not so for Letter Home. Here, the book structure and its exterior and interior environments are fully integrated with a content to embody and illuminate meaning. Using family photographs and dual private voices, a letter to a family, and an interior commentary, Handmer creates a visual narrative and diorama of Midwestern roots, geographic displacement, familiar relationships, personal and interpersonal anxieties, and 1950s cultural transition. The work evokes emotions of longing and loss without being sentimental, as well as hope for the future that is flavored with Midwestern pragmatism. The revelatory quality of Handmer's flag book is quite appropriate to its content, creating a satisfied and multi-layered experience for the viewer. Our last accordion variation was produced by weaving pages together through grommeted corners at both the head and the foot with plastic paper strips. Pages are punched with different configurations of holes to recall computer punch cards, inspired by the first computer programmer, Ada Lovelace. Countess Ada Lovelace was a British mathematician, musician, and yes, the first computer programmer. In 1833, Lovelace, the daughter of Lord Byron, who abandoned her as a child, befriended Charles Babbage, the designer of the difference engine, considered by many to be the first computer. Lovelace helped Babbage refine and direct his ideas, editing, footnoting, and often correcting his work. Though they carried on a lifelong correspondence, Babbage devalued Lovelace, calling her his interpress and the enchantress of numbers. The dream of the analytical machine, or the difference engine as it was sometimes called, was never fully realized. And it took over 100 years for Ada Lovelace to be recognized for her contributions to the field of computer programming. In 1977, a new computer programming language was named Ada in her honor, and she is now widely acknowledged as a computer pioneer. Ada's Echo, created by Kelly Wellman, includes text excerpted from Ada Lovelace's letters to Charles Babbage. Translucent paper forms the top and main text page through which the secondary text and shadowy images are seen. By layering the pages, progress is depicted as a process of accrual, in which many hands and voices contribute over time. An accordion binding is but one variation of the folded form, defined by OAB as a freestanding structure made of paper or other thin material whose construction or structure relies primarily on folding. Other examples include a flexagon, boustrophodon, the X-book, starbook, or origami. In Catherine Ng's Fortune Ate Me, the text has been cut and folded to resemble fortune cookies, while real fortunes have been inserted inside. The work was inspired by letters written from the artist and author's father, while Ng was a student at UC Santa Cruz. The book is dedicated to him. Unlike the other books we have looked at so far, Fortune Ate Me is neither bound nor constrained to a page sequence. The cookies can be opened and read in any order. Each cookie reveals the author's struggle with mental health, a topic that was deemed taboo in Ng's Chinese family. The corresponding fortunes juxtapose the author's feeling of distress and anxiety with their short and positive responses. Fortune Ate Me was printed by the author at the Second Story Press and issued in a pink modified pastry box with individual sections for each cookie. As with the last book, Amy Perkel's Smoke is not meant to be read in any particular order, but rather than fold the individual passages, Perkel decided to roll them up in the shape and form of cigarettes. As a big believer in structure and content working hand in hand, Perkel spent 2 years playing with various book structures for this text, but nothing seemed to work. One day, she realized that Smoke was not meant to be bound as a traditional book. Its true form was a pack of Salem cigarettes, the preferred brand by her grandfather. Each of the shorter passages from the story was printed as a cigarette scroll. All of the cigarettes, including a colophon cigarette, were then cased together in a handcrafted cigarette pack made up of binder's board with letterpress printed graphics. Smoke is a book project about Perkel's grandfather, Aubrey Thomas, who died from lung cancer in 1992. Perkel originally wrote the text for Smoke during a contemporary short fiction class in fall 2006, attempting to emulate Bartholomew. The short story is broken into several shorter passages, each with its own title, that represent different memories of her grandfather. The book is letterpress printed from 12 and 14-point centaur metal types and linoleum cuts. Each scroll is topped with a 1-inch brown band at the top to resemble a filter-tip cigarette. The cigarettes are housed in a handcrafted cigarette pack made up of binder's board with letterpress printed graphics, with a lift-off top. Features of the cigarette box include a UPC code numbered and barred with live dates of Aubrey Thomas, and a special warning developed for the edition. The edition size is 3 cartons of cigarettes, or 30 copies. Sometimes the structure of the book reveals and explores something that the text alone could not. That is the case with Heather Weston's binding analysis Double Bind. Author and artist Heather Weston holds a degree in book arts and works in the mental health profession. She uses the book form to explore both emotional experience and psychological structure. In this context, she explores the inextricable link between form and content. Here, the experience of schizophrenia is represented in the book's binding, a double spiral bound at right and left edges, with the pages splitting down the center. 4 separate narratives, 1 pictorial, 2 textual, and 1 structural, unravel concurrently, and the reader must come to an understanding of and solve the riddle contained within the structure. Thus, the book refers directly to the process of psychoanalysis as a tool for understanding the book's story. A hidden narrative can only be pieced together when 8 pairs of object images, which the binding naturally splits, are reunited and the pages are flipped inside out, a reference to the necessity of an external person, the analyst or detective, who can take an active interest in the content. Rick Moody's surplus value books also uses structure to analyze the mysteries and histories of an unknown mental health patient. The book could be described as an assemblage, defined by OAB as an artwork entirely composed of or including found objects. This deluxe edition, presented as a collector's box, contains 2 pens, 1 felt tip marker, 1 whiteout correction pen, 1 pencil, 1 wooden nickel, 1 photograph with a loop, 7 photographs of original artwork for placement only, and many other items. The text is composed in the form of galley proofs. Upon removing the galley holding the text, the reader is presented with a removable panel resembling a hospital release checklist. Holes cut into this panel reveal the objects contained below. The collectible objects in the box act as literal illustrations to the story. The narrator of the story is a bookseller, collector, and mental patient. The story is told through the description of books for sale in the bookseller's catalog. Values are assigned to each item in the catalog according to the bookseller's inherent personal desire for each item. Themes of value, voyeurism, and deceit are presented as a pathology of collecting through the multiple layering of information and the revealing of objects of desire that are contained in the collector's box. Another example of an assemblage can be found in Wendy Fernstrom's Clutter Free. Clutter Free explores the tension between wanting to live more freely, free of clutter, and being unable to throw away the things that seem to give our life meaning. At what point do our belongings prevent us from living fully? And how much stuff do we really need before we can feel fulfilled? The book leads the reader on the paths of a life relieved of accumulated objects. Structured like a box containing 2 back-to-back books, it presents the text in 2 different ways. Clutter's narrative can be found among the objects contained within the drawer. The narrative unfolds sequentially, starting with number 1 and ending with number 16. The reader must physically empty the drawer in search of the articles containing the text. The other objects serve as tangible illustrations and sometimes emit sounds or scents. We fill up our cupboards with evidence and traces of our existence: photographs, tickets, matches from favorite restaurants, etc. The narrator despairs of this mess and the things that accumulate before a fire saves her from inertia and frees her. In the book Free, the text is printed on bound pages stored in a compartment above the box. A word floats on each page. The paper varies from Japanese kozo to heavy, fragile papers that force the reader to slow down as they turn each page. The text gradually fades. The narrator muses like a monk and shares the wisdom gained. The recurring theme is one of gain and loss, including the things that we gain through loss, such as transcendence. The reader is required to participate, to engage emotionally, intellectually, and physically in a truly interactive experience. Our last book is an example of many different structures and forms put together. It is bound in the typical codex fashion, includes a collage of materials, and may also be described as an assemblage given the nature of the found objects which make up the work. The text is also recycled from literary sources in new and unique ways. The text of Mending is a poem by the American poet Hazel Hall. Hall was born in 1886 and lived for most of her life in Portland, Oregon. Following a bout of scarlet fever at the age of 12, she was confined to a wheelchair. Hall then took in sewing to help with the family finances, and Mending is one of 33 poems she wrote about needlework. The cover of each copy of the book is a pair of pants, or shorts. The first page is a collared shirt, the second a piece of household textile, and next follows a nightgown or a pair of pajama pants. The last page is a t-shirt. Most of the garments come from family and friends. The dimensions of each edition, and there are only 10 in total, vary according to the size of the pants for the back and front covers. The text has been screen printed on the found and donated garments. Are you interested in learning how to make your very own artist books? Look no further than the Marriott Library's Book Arts program. Since 1995, the Book Arts program has encouraged appreciation for the art and history of the book, not only on campus, but among the wider Intermountain West community. The fully equipped studio allows students to learn skills such as papermaking, bookbinding, letterpress, typography, and book design. The program currently offers a minor and certificate in book arts, as well as an MFA in creative writing and book arts, supported by both the art and English departments. The foundation of the Book Arts program has been the Marriott Library's Rare Books collection. The initial goal of the Book Arts program was to integrate the Rare Books collection onto campus curricula, expand the usage of the collection on campus and in the community, and to promote understanding for the history and art of the book. Throughout the year, our artist books are shared with students not only in the Book Arts program, but in other classes and departments on campus, sometimes resulting in unique collaborations, projects, and assignments. As early as the 1980s, the Rare Books department understood the importance of collecting traditional hand press, fine press, and artist books. Most importantly, we continue to work closely with the Book Arts program and consider their interest and goals in our collection management policies. We focus on artist books that provide wonderful examples of papermaking, bookbinding, letterpress printing, typography, and structural design. We also inspire to uplift voices from marginalized communities and share strong messages of support to creators and printmakers from all levels. For the Rare Books department at the Marriott Library, artist books hold equal weight to some of the most valuable items in the collection. If you liked this virtual lecture, be sure to explore the Rare Books virtual lecture series, with presentations that touch upon a wide variety of different subjects. Here you can find even more digital resources for reference and research. Here you can learn what a book is exactly, and what makes a book rare. You can also gain insight to the vast networks of the book's history and explore how early manuscript influenced the design of the book for years to come. Dive deeper into politics, science, and literature, and celebrate the Spanish language with an introduction to Chicanx artist books. And just when you think you've had enough, learn how to transform your creative writing to make your very own artist book. Once you're done exploring the virtual lectures, head over to the digital exhibitions page. Our digital exhibitions are compiled from past exhibitions that were physically displayed in the Special Collections exhibition gallery on the 4th floor. We're currently working on updating our digital exhibitions, so be sure to check back for more. The curation of each exhibition is centered around a specific topic or theme. For example, our most recent digital exhibition focuses on radical political literature in the 20th century. Lastly, I invite you to subscribe to Open Book, the Marriott Library's official Rare Books blog. Open Book is a great way to explore the breadth and depth of the Rare Books collection. About once a week, we feature a book or books from the collection with a little bit of information. The choices might seem random, but there is a method to the madness. We promise. By exploring Open Book, you'll get to see the vast networks that connect languages, cultures, and periods of history. Plus, you'll be able to impress your friends, family, and even professors with tidbits of knowledge from each post. To subscribe to the blog, enter your email and hit subscribe. To search our archives, click on View All Rarebooks posts. If you have any questions about the books in this presentation or about any of the books in our collection, feel free to send us an email or check us out on our website, lib.utah.edu/collections/rarebooks.